The Supreme Court of the United States ruled that Trump may have immunity. I'm sorry, I probably misspoke. He may claim immunity from prosecution, of course.
Because I looked at the CNN, they are now discussing that he has partial immunity for the decisions he made on the 6th of January. I remember their discussions, where they separated, a man and a steamer. They discussed that it is very important for Trump to make decisions and act as an individual or as a president. These are the subtleties that my critical mind cannot bear. But everyone knows that Trump is openly talking about this, that he appointed 3 more judges to the High Court at the last minute, and I think he has a 6-to-3 ratio there. That is, 6 judges who are loyal to or appointed by Republicans and 3 Democrats. And although they claim that this is such a painful topic for us about independent judicial branches, it is clear that it has a certain effect. And it's obvious that this is a boost for Trump's election campaign. It's such a major, all-important event that will pump up Trump and his supporters with confidence that they are moving full steam ahead to victory.
And in fact, do you think this will really affect the position of the Americans themselves? Especially those who doubt whether this can actually add to the number of Donald Trump's supporters.
In fact, if you ask me, that's not the biggest problem. The biggest problem is that Trump has once again not promised that he will concede defeat if there is a defeat. And as for me, there is no bigger problem. It's a strange situation. Trump wins, but what if he loses? And what if he really loses? And this time the tension in the American chamber is very high. That is, the country is on the verge of some very serious civil conflict within the country and a conflict, possibly with weapons. I mean, last time we tried not to talk about it, because it was kind of a bad topic, that democracy was under threat, that there could be a civil war. But now, well, objectively, I look at what's happening and understand that Trump is already preparing public opinion for the fact that he cannot lose. But, listen, it's hypothetically happening. Despite the fact that Biden had a disastrous debate, again, I read a lot of information every day, it looks like Biden is not going to withdraw from the election. The Congress is less than a month away. I saw it on live TV, which makes my arguments and personal impressions a little better. That day, after the debate, I watched him live at 4 a.m. Kiev time in the debate and saw him in North Carolina in the evening. It was 2 different Bidens. Even though they say that he had prompter, it was clear that Biden was determined to prove that what happened at the debate was just an episode. As Viktor Yushchenko was fond of saying about some problems, it's an episode, history will pass and it will all be forgotten. But now it is becoming clear that the family circle, the family kitchen, which you mentioned in your analysis, is a very thorough analysis, by the way. I remember that when I was in Washington, I had the illusion that I had first access to English and American information, but now I see that you and your colleagues simply take the latest information from various sources and in a very professional manner. You talked about the fact that the Trump family advocated that he stay categorically.
Biden's family.
Then the closest relations, yes, Biden, we are already rambling. Interestingly, Trump has a family, but it is not present in public space.
It seems that the opinion of the Trump family is less important to him than the opinion of the Biden family is to the current president.
If you've seen his son in public, his son is just more cruncher than his father, there is a certain consistency. But apart from the family, the Biden family has the best relationship with the Obama family. And Obama doubled his support for Biden there. Then Clinton, who are also very well-known leaders who have won 2 terms in the Democratic Party, the Clintons are also in favor of this. I don't know how much the public coincides with the private here, we will never know. The donor factor will probably be interesting, how the donors will react, although again, Biden's team said that they raised $27 million on the first night after the election, but some donor conferences were suspended there. In a word, from what I can see, what can be predicted is that they will probably say that if Biden stayed on his feet, like in boxing, he was knocked out, but not knocked down. He stood on his feet, got up for one day, which means that next week he is now intensively resuming his campaign, and in a month there will be this convention. That is, if nothing, I don't know, catastrophic happens to his health, God bless him, he will most likely be the candidate, because Biden's team has now moved the discussion. They're trying to punish his advisors, they're trying to shift so much to the fact that they were poorly prepared, so someone has to be punished, and the discussion has turned to the fact that they were not prepared properly, they did not calculate the consequences and they need to change the team of advisors. But as Kamala Harris said, we cannot ignore the 4 years of Biden's very successful presidency because the 90s went wrong. And from the point of view of economic results, this is true. And foreign policy, Biden's presidency is really successful, but Americans are concerned about his ability to lead for the next 4 years. And if you've compared the point of view of American voters, what American voters are most concerned about is Biden's ability to physically lead the country in very difficult times and how much his health allows him to carry out this difficult, hard mission.
Well, but it must be said that Biden himself admitted that his speech, to put it mildly, was not perfect. He said that his age was indeed not the same, and that it was showing, and that some of his skills were not the same as they were 4 years ago. But, nevertheless, he is confident that he can still lead the country during his next term and oppose Trump in this election. But it's interesting. That is, on the one hand, we do see that the family supports Biden's decision to stay and not withdraw his candidacy from the election. But at the same time, you partially mentioned that there was indeed a certain panic among donors, and this was widely reported in the Western press, especially in the US. And CNN is now writing that Biden, despite his family's position, is still collecting various data and will look at polls. How did this debate affect the opinion of the Americans themselves, the American population? And we saw the New York Times come out with an editorial calling on Biden to withdraw, in fact, to withdraw his candidacy. In addition, other reputable and influential global media outlets wrote that, indeed, Biden might be better off withdrawing his candidacy now. In your opinion, these media, in fact, how can they influence American opinion? And can they shape or change this public opinion significantly?
It's not just the media. In the materials I've read, these are the sources, these are the media, The Atlantic and Shade, that Biden has confidence in, that he trusts. That is not to say that this is, Trump's hand sticking out somewhere from some political opponents. These are Biden's friends, these are sources he trusts, these are people he trusts. There are a number of people who are in this field of Biden's friends who advised him to leave. Well, that's a fact. And this is especially emphasized because it is both politically important and again personal. That is, I repeat, these are the sources of information that Biden trusted and used to verify the truthfulness or otherwise of his course, to take into account criticisms, in short, to which he listened. And a number of such media advised him to leave. Most likely, now, somewhere, as we are talking, a very in-depth sociological survey should be conducted. It should focus specifically on the impact of this unsuccessful debate night on voters. And depending on what the results of this influence will be, and secondly, no less important, how global donors will behave. Because there is serious artillery there are always donors, and there are strategic donors, who are very influential and who have a history of support there. That is, the heavyweights who are in the Democratic Party, because American elections are always about large groups of influence, large capital of serious players. And if donors lose confidence, it is virtually impossible to win elections. That is, no matter how much Biden or his family would like it, no matter how much they believe, Biden believes that he is the only one who can stop Trump. To be honest, again, some sociology showed that if you want to replace a candidate, you have to do it as quickly as possible, and do it convincingly, so that Biden will support it, and you need to go through such a mini primary from within your party as quickly and painlessly as possible. This is a huge challenge for the party. And so every day that the decision is delayed makes it more difficult to replace the candidate. Why did I say it's been a week? It's clear that he won't leave, and that, most likely, experts say that by this Congress, which will be held at the end of the summer, it will be difficult to imagine replacing the candidate. Therefore, we will see, you and I, frankly, will not know the results of this sociology, because they will already be presented to us in terms of the interests of Biden or the Democratic Party. But it will be more difficult with donors, because your colleagues, the American media, pay a lot of attention to this. And the American public will know about the reduction of donors, the reduction of support. This information will be impossible to hide.
Interesting indeed. You said that it may seem that there are no good scenarios for us, because on the one hand, either Trump wins or Trump loses. But we are entering a period of such serious instability in the United States, when Trump will refuse to accept defeat, and we may see a repeat of some of the events that took place back in 2021. In your opinion, how should the Ukrainian authorities prepare for both scenarios, which are not very attractive for us?
There is a banking term for this, and mitigate risk. That is, it is possible to somehow reinsure these risks in a certain way. In our situation, this is very convincing: rapid integration into the European Union, rapprochement with European NATO members. And we have to be there among our own. I don't see this trend now. I don't see much desire and understanding from the Ukrainian authorities. From what I see, we have parallel problems with these issues. Again, I will not repeat what difficulties await us in the negotiations and the next Orban presidency in the European Union. Our main problem, and this is what we say, you say, when we talk about contacts, we would like to say, a very wide range of contacts. It's not just Arachemia in expensive sneakers, it has to be a powerful team of diplomats, MPs, including opposition MPs, public figures, business representatives, and those forces that are religious, in particular. Who should I talk to? We have to talk to everybody. But the worst-case scenario is that we try to please Trump somehow. It is clear to me that Trump will not forgive us much. There should be no illusion that he can like us, that he can be charmed by Zelensky, or I'm not talking about Yermak, that he cannot be sent through some friends or intermediaries. For some reason, a government thinks this way. A formula for power is that there is one person around him, 5 to 6 radicals, and this is what runs the country. It certainly doesn't work that way in the United States. In order to build relationships, we need to be much stronger at the time of a possible change of power in Europe. And if we are part of the European policy, the European Union, the European leaders of NATO, if we have working agreements here, if we are much stronger militarily, then Trump's formula, where he said that he would give Ukraine this amount of aid if the European Union gave at least half, then it is clear that Trump will be forced, he will not be able to completely abandon support for Ukraine. And all his talk about putting Zelensky on the one hand and Putin on the other should be ignored now, because it is pre-election rhetoric. In realpolitik, at the moment, i.e., we are imagining next spring, what will be the composition of forces on the front line next spring, what will be our situation, in particular, domestically, because we have a serious problem with debt service. Well, we have signed and received the next tranche of the International Monetary Fund. As a rule, we would fail any program on the second or third day. The tranches never reached the fifth. But we need to restructure the external debt with private investors. That's in a month. If we pay off the external debt, imagine that next year we will have an item for servicing the external debt, second only to defense spending. This is a huge burden on the country, and we need to earn the trust of investors. Because if the world sees the same Trump, or if our opponents in France are there now, we don't remember, but we remember every second. We understand that there are skeptics in the European Union, not only European skeptics, but also Ukrainian skeptics. If they see that a private investor does not want to restructure the debt because they do not believe in Ukraine's ability to service it, this is a very bad signal for us. Therefore, we have no shortage of challenges, and the effectiveness, professionalism, and capacity of our government needs to be significantly strengthened. And this should be given a real chance. We have 6 vacancies, I think, in the government. We have an absolutely demotivated parliament. We have such difficult moments, we have some kind of, paralyzed by the summer heat government. And there are only a couple of vestiges on Bankover Street who seem to be holding this Ukraine together, but this is an illusion. With such a team, with such an approach, we will not be able to implement the tasks that need to be done, because we have to be ready for very difficult times, and we are not ready in terms of not only dependence on external factors, but also in terms of the professionalism of the organization of the government system in Ukraine. I never tire of repeating this, because I see it, I understand it, and I know that it is very difficult to win with such a power structure. Therefore, we need to demand real changes in terms of personnel and powers from the president, because he is now in charge, and we need to demand that the authorities do not delay and mark reforms. That is, there must be reforms. Now we have started negotiations with the European Union, and there will be no concessions to us there. They will demand that we make the changes we promised.
We heard you, Mr. Oleg. Thank you very much for joining our broadcast today.
Thank you. See you soon.
See you soon. Friends, Oleg Rybachuk, head of the Analytical and Advocacy Organization Center for Joint Action, has been in touch with us.